Time for Inside Out with our NBA insider, Ian Begley. And Ian, we saw Mitchell Robinson enjoy a double-double in the first half alone, 10 points and 14 boards, but he suffers a fractured right hand. How big of a blow is this to a Knicks team that really has been exceeding expectations?
Yeah, you can't overstate how big this is for the Knicks because they had been winning games by and large on the strength of their defense. Top 10 defense for most of the year. Top 6, I think, coming into tonight. And Mitchell Robinson was the driving force behind that defense. Obviously, he's so great around the rim. You lose him, you wonder how big of a drop-off you're going to see on that end of the floor. I think Nerlens Noel will slide in as the starter. He's been solid in the second unit, so I think if you're the Knicks, you hope that between he and Taj Gibson, they can hold the fort down at the 5, and I think you'll see some smaller lineups with maybe a Julius Randle or an Obi Toppin at the 5, but certainly significant blow for Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks.
And anytime somebody goes down with an injury, it opens the door for somebody to come up. And you brought up Obi Toppin. What does this mean for him and more playing time potentially?
Yeah, he should get more minutes because he's one of the players in these small ball lineups that Tom Thibodeau talked about that should get more minutes if they do play small. But I do think that initially you'll see Nerlens Noel, you'll see Taj Gibson, and maybe the Knicks will experiment, toy with some of those small lineups where Obi Toppin would get more minutes. But by and large, he should get more just because the rotation is different now.
And maybe that will allow him to become more familiar and more comfortable in the Knicks offense. And no Bradley Beal Friday for the Wizards, but they do face, the Knicks that is, Victor Oladipo and the Rockets Saturday. What's the latest involving the Knicks' interest in both of those stars?
Yeah, anybody like a Beal or an Oladipo or Zach LaVine, any player that's approaching free agency or could be traded, the Knicks are going to be interested. They're going to be monitoring the situation because, you know, they feel like they have the draft capital to be in those conversations with the first-round picks they have, the cap space, and some of the younger players. But, you know, specifically when it comes to Beal, he's talked about wanting to win in Washington, and if it doesn't work out in Washington, you know, he might look elsewhere. So if he wants to win, if you're the Knicks, you would have to give up so much to get him in New York. I don't see how he'd be in a winning situation after that kind of trade. So that's something you have to think about if you're a Knicks fan, keeping an eye on that Bradley Beal situation in D.C.